Hello, Grace Point Church. Have I told you that I love to read? I'm a nerd. I admit it. I love to read. I love to read God's Word. That's my favorite book. But I also am typically reading a couple other books on the side. And I thought it would be fun in this Mike and Five to share with you some of the books that I'm reading in 2024. And it kind of comes out of where I've been in 2023. In 2023, I did a deep dive study on grace. I spent a few months of my life reading some books trying to figure out what's the difference between grace and truth and love. How are each of those distinctive? And I felt like I had kind of a grasp on truth and love, but not as much on grace. So I just finished that study. I read about a few books on that, and then I actually wrote up a little bit of what I learned from that study. You could check that out on my personal blog if you want, mikepenza.wordpress.com. I just wrote some of the things I learned about grace. But as I was studying that, I also began to think about the law and how is grace and the law related. And it got me, I started praying about, God, what do you want me to learn in 2024? And I'm going to go back to the basics. So there's 4 subjects that I'm going to study on my own for fun, which are basic, but I just want to return to them. So the first thing I'm doing right now is the law. What is the law? And I'm going to spend some time reading about the 10 Commandments. And these are the 2 books that I'm working on for that. One is called 10 Words to Live By Jen Wilkin. She's one of my favorite living teachers. She goes through the 10 Commandments. And then this one is called Pathway to Freedom by Alistair Begg. Alistair Begg is one of my favorite preachers. And so both of these books are on the 10 Commandments. How God's laws guide our lives and delighting in and doing what God commands. So I'm starting this year reading that. I'm currently on chapter 3 of 10 Words to Live By, and I'm loving it. So 10 Commandments I want to spend some time learning about this year. Also, I want to return to Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, and I want to just spend some time there. And so here's 2 books that I'm going to be reading that's going to help me study that. This one is an older one by Philip Keller called A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23. This one is a newer one, which is on like a lot of people's like best recent books written, like on a lot of sites. So I'm really excited about that. That's by David Gibson. It's called The Lord of Psalm 23, Jesus, our shepherd, companion, and host. The foreword is by Sinclair Ferguson, who is also one of my favorites. And David Gibson was Sinclair Ferguson's pastor. And so this apparently is really good. So I'm going to do 10 Commandments, and I'm going to look at Psalm 23. Then I'm going to look at the Lord's Prayer. When the disciples said, Lord, teach us how to pray, and then he answers that with a rhythm for here's the things that you can pray about. I want to get into that. And so I'm going to be reading these 2 books this year. This one is called The Lord's Prayer for Today by William J. Carroll, and this one is called The Prayer of the Lord by R.C. Sproul. These are just going to be 2 books that are going to help me dive into understanding the Lord's Prayer a little bit more. Prayer is increasingly a theme for me. I'll be reading a few other books as well this year on prayer. Prayer is increasingly becoming more and more central to my life, and I want to do more of it. So that's big for me this year. The last one, the Apostles' Creed. Did you know there are particular creeds that have been written throughout history that summarize our faith, what is true, what is orthodox? And one of the most popular ones, is the Apostles' Creed. It's really good. Actually, a lot of churches will say the Apostles' Creed every Sunday. That's not our practice, but the Apostles' Creed is great. It reminds you of those core main doctrines of the church, that the things that we stand on and that have been true for thousands of years. So I'm going to spend some time thinking about the Apostles' Creed. 2 books that are going to help me do that is this one, The Apostles' Creed for Today, Justo Gonzalez, a wonderful theologian. It's actually really small. Look how small that is. And then this one by one of my favorite theologians, Michael F. Bird, What Christians Ought to Believe, An Introduction to Christian Doctrine Through the Apostles' Creed. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So those are the topics that I'm studying. I'm looking forward to getting into and having God shape me through that study, through that meditation. I wonder, what about you? You got any books you're interested in? Maybe it's fiction, nonfiction, theology, philosophy, psychology, sociology, anthropology. What are you reading? What are you into? Apologetics. What is it? I'd love to hear. Let me know, and let's nerd out this year.